When this construction of cogs, cables, and computer software hits the air, it'll become a flying eye in the sky and a high-tech bird of prey. UAV stands for Unmanned Aerial Vehicle, but these remote-controlled flyers, used for long-range reconnaissance and armed combat, are better known as drones. They come small enough to fit into a backpack or scale right up to a full-size fighter jet. It can outfly manned aircraft, staying aloft for over 24 hours at a time, often controlled via satellite link from a world away. The ING Robotic Aviation Responder is a surveillance drone that can reach speeds of 70 kilometers per hour. Weighing in at 45 kilograms, the $80,000 Helidrone is stable in extreme weather conditions and 60-kilometer winds. The Helidrone is currently deployed to East Africa, where the military use it to monitor border incursions. The Helidrone breaks down into the motor, the drives, and the frame. The minicopter is made on a frame of carbon fiber, which is 10 times tougher than steel. The rest of the body is composed of strong, lightweight fiberglass, which won't disrupt the radio frequency signals that control the drone. The main gear drives the aircraft's main rotor and tail. All teeth on the gears are manufactured on a diagonal instead of straight up and down. This minimizes noise and vibration throughout the frame, which maximizes stability and stealth. Just like a full-sized helicopter, the drone is based on angled elements that provide lift and prevent the aircraft from spinning out of control. There are two drive systems, one in the main body of the frame and one in the tail. This two-way drive helps to stabilize the drone so it doesn't spin and helps with the yaw, or left and right turns. The drives are made of CNC machined aluminum. First, the tail drive is assembled. Next, the main drive is constructed. The main drive is responsible for the lift of the drone. Its curved holders steady the aircraft and minimize spin. Surveillance drones were first used extensively during the Vietnam War. Dubbed Fire Bees, they were equipped with conventional cameras and ran reconnaissance missions. Not much change for UAVs for 20 years, until drones were able to see details from half a kilometer up and transmit those images in real time. And the sound of a drone often meant an attack was going to follow. So, in February 1991, after a U.S. battleship had devastated the Iraqi defenses of Failaka Island near Kuwait City, the Navy sent an unarmed drone at low altitude over the island. When locals heard the drone's signature sound, they figured the low-flying aircraft was about to direct another precision strike. The troops started surrendering to the drone's tiny camera. It was the first time in history that people surrendered to a robot. Assembly begins with the landing gear. The lower landing portion is made of lightweight aluminum. The raised legs allow for 8 inches of clearance for mounting cameras and large sensors. The copter is wired and the onboard computer and power source are installed. The 500-watt battery-powered motor will reach speeds of 70 clicks and run for about 40 minutes without a recharge. Finally, the propeller blades are inserted into the main and tail drives. The responder is made to carry a DSLR camera, which takes super high-resolution stills and video from as high as 275 meters up. Top priority for the drone's test flight is to make sure the UAV is vibration-free. Even the slightest rattle makes for a bumpy ride, a drained battery, and blurry images. Drones are on the rise. Whether it's deployed for high-altitude survey and build it up with ballistic steel, and an ordinary truck becomes a bulletproof fortress on wheels. The Incas armored personnel carrier is speedy, agile, and bulletproof. It can transport up to 10 troops or police in and out of hostile territory at 90 kilometers per hour and keep them safe even under high-caliber weapons assaults. World War I saw the advent of the armored personnel carrier, the Mark IX, which was first deployed to the Western Front to safely carry infantry accompanying tanks past enemy lines. Now troops could be transported in larger numbers and dropped directly into combat. While production started in September 1917, only 3 of the Mark IXs were made in time before the war ended in 1918. Even though there were only a small number of APCs produced, they forever changed the way battles would be fought. The ECS armored personnel carrier breaks down into the frame, the chassis, and the armor. The ECS armored personnel carrier starts out as a stock Ford F-550 Super Duty truck. The transformation begins by stripping the truck, tearing it down until all that's left is the chassis, a bare metal frame, and the engine sitting on 4 wheels. Now, it's ready to be rebuilt from the ground up. The chassis is reinforced with mild steel, so it can withstand hard riding without cracking. And the brakes and suspensions are tricked out so they can handle heavy armor over rough terrain. The next step is to add the armor, which creates a virtually impenetrable shell able to withstand explosions and enemy assault. But before it can be added, the ballistic steel, called B6, has to be tested. 1 sample square from each batch is pulled, and 3 rounds are fired into the same spot. If none of the bullets pass through the steel, it's considered ready for use. If the metal fails the test, the entire roll is trashed. The bulletproof metal is put into production, and the armor plating can begin. Shapes are carved out with a laser, including the windows and gun turrets. Next, the armor is bent into shape on a 10-ton press. Ballistic steel is also used to fully encase the vehicle's engine in a bulletproof cage, so it can keep running under fire. By the onset of the Second World War, both sides realized the necessity of mobile command and control in wartime. As a result, APCs were produced and employed by both the Axis and the Allies in much larger numbers than before. And the carriers evolved from simple armored cars to the ultimate in sophisticated engineering and highly effective tools of war. Today, they're an indispensable asset for armies around the world. The APC's frame is made from mild steel. Its low carbon content means the metal will flex instead of cracking under the impact of a bumpy ride or bomb attack. The steel floor fortifies the chassis against landmines. The outer frame is assembled, lowered onto the chassis, and welded together. A layer of foam insulation is sandwiched between the steel plates to protect the passengers from harsh weather, as well as providing another anti-ballistic layer. The B6 ballistic metal is then welded to the inside of the hull, making it completely bulletproof. A projectile would need to puncture the mild steel, pass through the foam insulation, and penetrate the ballistic steel in order to hit and harm the vehicle's occupants. Nearly impossible. Once the truck has been coated with a textured paint that forms an anti-reflective skin, work is done on installing the bulletproof windows, the seats, and the dashboard. After hundreds of work hours, the armored personnel vehicle rolls off the line for a test drive, pushing it to the speed limit on the highway, then knocking it around to make sure it's off-road ready. Converting a stock pickup into an armored vehicle is like turning a mortal into a superhero. And when the transformation is complete, this monster truck is unstoppable.